Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back for our Unit 15 quiz today from our book on Dearborn, the real estate practices in Pennsylvania. So I want to share my screen here and we can get going with the quiz. So let me get this started. I'm going to play from here. And here we are, Unit 15 quiz. Our quiz today is going to be covering agency and real estate. The learning objectives from Unit 15 were to identify various types of agency concepts, including fiduciary duties involved in an agency relationship, to explain the process by which agency is created and terminated, and the need for discussing various agency relationships. The third bullet point says to describe the various types of agency relationships common in real estate practice and the characteristics of each. And last but not least, discuss the disclosures involved in the consumer notice. Remember, the consumer notice is part of RELRA. That is number 608 in a RELRA field. You definitely need to understand how and when to present the consumer notice, how long to keep the consumer notice. That is very, very important for your test, not only in class, but also for your state and your national exam. Well, actually for the state exam, when you get down to the portion of getting ready to take the test. So with no further ado, let's get started on question number one. So this is a Pennsylvania question for you right off the bat here. In Pennsylvania, what is necessary in order to be compensated? Is it the promise of compensation upon completion of the work? Is it recommendation by a previous client? Is it upon an action such as showing a property to a prospective buyer? Or is it number 4, written agreement between a real estate licensee and a consumer? Okay, so what is necessary in order to be compensated? Which one of those is your best answer? The best answer here is number 4. You need a written agreement to get paid in the state of Pennsylvania. Everything's got to be in writing. Question number 2, another Pennsylvania question. The broker is providing communication and document preparation services and is assisting both parties in a transaction without advocating for either party. This broker is a transaction licensee, a single agent, a dual agent, or a designated agent. Okay, he's assisting both parties, providing communication and document preparation. Which one is he? The broker is, answer is, number 1, a transaction licensee. That is a person who provides communication and document preparation services. They don't represent any of the parties. They don't represent the buyer, don't represent the seller, so they can't be a dual agent. And they are a transaction licensee because all they're doing is providing document prep services and communication. That's it. Question number 3. The broker had a listing with a seller who had a heart attack and is in a coma and is not expected to live. In this situation, what is the status of the listing? Number 1, the listing status has not changed. Number 2, the heirs are obligated to relist with the broker. Number 3, the seller's heirs are responsible for fulfilling the terms of the listing. Or number 4, the agency relationship has been terminated. Okay, the answer for question number 3 is 4. The agency relationship has been terminated because the seller cannot continue on with this contract. Question number 4, which of these situations is the best example of a breach of the fiduciary duty of confidentiality? Number 1, disclosing material facts about the seller client's property to the buyer. Number 2, disclosing to a seller client the buyer's need to obtain financing. Number 3, disclosing to a buyer the seller's client's need for a quick sale. Or number 4, disclosing to a lender a buyer client's dates of employment. So which one of those would constitute a breach of fiduciary duty of confidentiality? Answer is number 3, disclosing to a buyer the seller client's need for a quick sale is the best example of the breach of fiduciary duty of confidentiality. Can't do that. That's definitely a breach of confidentiality. Question number 5. Broker Todd designates Scott to represent the buyer and Kim to represent the seller in the same transaction. Both Scott and Kim are agents that work for Broker Todd. Probably should have put that in a question. But again, they're both agents. They work for Broker Todd. Each one of them represent a different client. So who, if anyone, is a dual agent in this situation? Is it Scott, Kim, Broker Todd, or no one? Give you a chance to digest that. So you got Broker Todd designates Agent Scott to represent the buyer and Agent Kim to represent the seller in the same transaction. Who, if anyone, is a dual agent? Answer is number 3, Broker Todd is a dual agent. Kim and Scott are both designated agents for their respective clients. So I think if Scott was working with the buyer, he'd be a designated agent for the buyer. Kim is a designated agent for the seller. But Broker Todd, who both agents work for as the broker, Broker Todd and the company becomes the dual agent in that situation. Question number 6, a principal discloses that she would sell her property for $300,000. During the listing period, the home is marketed for $375,000. No offers are received and the listing expires. 3 weeks later, the agent tells a customer that the seller would have sold for less than the listed price. Which is true? Number 1, the agent is violating the duties owed to this customer. Number 2, the agent has created a dual agency situation with the customer. Number 3, the agent has violated the duty of confidentiality. Or number 4, the agent has fulfilled all fiduciary duties, including confidentiality, since the listing period has expired. Okay, your best answer for question number 6 is going to be number 3, the agent has violated the duty of confidentiality since confidentiality never ends. There is no ending period. Confidentiality does not end at the term date of the contract. It goes beyond the listing period, goes on beyond buyer's contract. Whenever you have confidentiality built in, it goes on forever and does not end. So you can never say anything like that agent had just talked about in that previous question. Question number 7, the duties of an agent acting as a facilitator are most similar to those of a implied agent, a dual agent, a single agent, or a sub-agent. So when they act as a facilitator, what do you think they're doing? What are they most closely aligned with? Most similar to? Number 2, a dual agent is the most similar, acting like a facilitator in a transaction. They're just trying to make sure that both parties are kept on track and make sure that they're facilitating the deals on both sides, because remember, they're representing both sides and they have to kind of stay in the middle to broker that deal. Question number 8, an agent tells her buyer that a clause in a sales contract is just standard boilerplate language. After explaining the clause, she says not to worry about it because it's not that significant. If something goes wrong with the transaction, the agent could be liable for, number 1, intentional misrepresentation. Number 2, misinterpreting the clause. Number 3, violating duties owed a customer. Or number 4, practicing law without a license. Answer is number 4, practicing law without a license is what the agent could be liable for. You can't just say it doesn't really matter. Explain it and let them make the decision if it's going to matter or not. Question number 9, for how long must a real estate licensee retain a copy of the signed consumer notice? 6 weeks, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years. Okay, those consumer notices need to be retained for 6 months. Must retain a copy of the signed consumer notices for 6 months. Question number 10. A real estate licensee was representing a buyer. At their very first meeting, the buyer explained that he planned to operate a childcare business out of any house that he bought. The licensee did not check the local zoning ordinances to determine in which parts of town such a business could be conducted. Which fiduciary duty did the licensee violate? Did he violate obedience, loyalty, accounting, or reasonable care? Answer is number four. Reasonable care was a fiduciary duty that the licensee violated. He should have checked the local zoning ordinance, and since he knew his buyer wanted to go buy a child care business, so definitely violated reasonable care in that manner. It could have been, somebody might want to argue that it could have been obedience, but he wasn't told to go do it. So obedience is when a buyer or seller tells you to do something and then you don't do it. That could be a violation or a breach of that fiduciary duty of obedience. But in this situation, it's reasonable care because the agent knew what he should have done and he just didn't do it. Okay, hopefully that helped kind of distinguish those differences. So I want to thank you for being here today with me, Todd Van Horn from Real Estate Educators. Again, make sure you subscribe to our channel so that you know when we upload the newest videos. Again, good luck to you on the rest of your quizzes and the rest of your course finals and so forth. And obviously, and always, good luck on your state and your national exams. Again, Todd Van Horn, thanks for joining me here today. Appreciate it.